Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. London Clubs Carnage back and now in its final form of pre-records. And I know in the chat you'd be booing and dashing fruit and whatnot. But listen, this is just the way it goes. Do you know what I mean? This is the new format. You'll get used to it at some point. I might have to remove Arsenal out of the intro because Lee's gone on a bender. I don't think we're the same today.
Yeah, I hope he's all right, man. I hope he's all right, honestly.
Might have to replace Arsenal with like Fulham or Brentford or something like that because he's not going to be here today. But listen, we got the rest of the casting crew. Corey, start with you, bro. How are you doing? Chat to me.
I'm all right. I'm knackered with work and that, but other than that, mate, I'm sweet. Last minute equaliser from Big Craig Dawson on Sunday meant I wasn't crying because it would have been one of them games. But yeah, we move, mate. We move. Game on Saturday, Newcastle at home, and they'll be buzzing for it. To be fair to them, they look all right. So yeah, not an easy one.
Yeah, and Tobi, bro, how are you doing? Talk to me. How are you feeling?
I'm actually the opposite of Corey. So work is actually going well, and I hate football. Football's been horrible. 2 horrendous results off the back of a Chelsea loss last month. So I couldn't be any worse. Yeah, and we've got Man City coming up on the weekend. So yeah, good fun.
Fucking hell. I didn't actually know you had Man City coming up, so that is alarming because Man City right now are not taking any prisoners at all.
They are literally steamrolling through. If you're shit, they're steamrolling through you. And boy, that spells danger for Tottenham, doesn't it?
They've only dropped points once in the last 2 or 3 months, and it was against Southampton, who are actually playing quite well at the moment. Obviously, took points off Man United as well. But we're gonna get to that because that's actually mad. But Corey, I watched your game, Leicester 2, West Ham 2, last minute equaliser from Craig Dawson. You didn't play as well as I expected you to. I mean, Leicester obviously struggling this season. Brendan Rodgers is talking about players' futures are up in the air. Tielemans is not signing a new contract. Maybe there's some motivational issues because the club has reached maybe its pinnacle of where it can really get to after winning the FA Cup. And some of those better players probably look to move on. And obviously you guys are in the top 4 hunt. But you guys kind of, apart from a couple of spells, mainly Leicester were kind of creating the bundle of the chances and dominated the game. What was your take from it?
Yeah, it was a weird one because I think people didn't expect. I thought we started really well. I thought for about 30 minutes, the game plan was spot on. And you got to remember, our record against them has been pretty spot on over the past 3 games or so. So Moyes set up exactly the way I expected him to. And the minute Antonio, for me, it's Antonio. Other West Ham fans may have another problem, but the minute he didn't press, the minute he wasn't doing his job off the ball, they could just play in behind our press into our midfield. And Leicester have the players like Harvey Barnes that can hurt you. And Soufal looks so, both the fullbacks, in fairness. Creswell's had an absolute shocker with the handball. I've got no idea what I tried to kind of forgive it. I thought from the initial sight, it was someone was in front of him or it was a deflected ball. He's genuinely just not concentrating. And then thereafter the goal, Pereira, he's not followed his man in. And both our fullbacks were struggling all day. So when the game plan went out and you don't have the ability to implement that like we've done over the 90 minutes previously, then Leicester still have good players. Don't get it twisted. They've still got Tielemans. They've still got Barnes. They've still got players that can create and cause us problems. So it was a tough one. And I think creativity as well is a big problem as well. You know, Leicester, when they went 2 up, they had all the comfort in the world just to sit behind the ball. Not aggressively low, but enough for us to struggle. And we had to bring on Ben Rama and players like that to try and change the game a bit. So we were only ever going to get back in the game for a set piece. So it's frustrating at the minute because I'm seeing disjointed performances. There are games where for a certain amount of time we look good, then the fatigue sets in. Now we've got an issue with the fullbacks, or particularly Soufal, who his form's dropped so far off. He doesn't even look like the same player that I've seen before. And then creatively speaking, we just aren't moving enough. The players, I don't know whether it's mental or physical, and it comes from Antonio. You build a system around him. We sat here earlier in the season saying how important he was because of what he does. But the minute he doesn't move into a channel or playing behind or come short and try and link up play, the whole thing collapses. So at the minute, it feels like we're just so reliant on Jarrod Bowen or a set piece or Manu Lanzini coming on and changing it. That's kind of the margin of error. And obviously defensively, when we made mistakes, you aren't going to pick up points. So it was a good point in the end because I thought we weren't going to get anything and we weren't creating. But again, this top 4 race, you've got to be able to take your opportunities. And Spurs dropping points, Arsenal not playing, United struggling. That was a real chance for us. So It's a bit concerning, but to be honest, I couldn't really predict what's going to happen on Saturday because every West Ham I'm seeing now, it's a different type of problem and it's a different issue. And these players are playing a lot of football. They're not used to playing this much football, and we don't have the options to bring in and change them out and freshen it up a little bit. So it's a bit mad, mate. But it does feel for West Ham to even be in that conversation. We're talking margins. We're talking West Ham getting a penalty, West Ham getting a set piece, being solid defensively. And that's the only thing I will say on the game. I thought Diop was really good when he came on. He obviously got the assist. He didn't put a foot wrong. And I don't know, it's a mental thing with him. He had to step up with Zuma out. He did it, and him and Dawson were spot on. So positives, a few positives, but compared to what I've seen earlier in the season to now, it's becoming too sporadic for me. I just, and Moyes will say it as well. He said, you know, these players need to find their form. They need to find their feet. So, yeah, it's a weird one, mate. It's a weird one. But a point is still a good point away at Leicester, and I'll just take it and move.
I was going to say, it definitely is still a good point, especially with everybody else dropping points as well. I think maybe there's a bit of a burnout coming because obviously, like you said, your squad isn't the biggest, and maybe there was a need for improvement in January, and now they're starting to take their toll on them as well. I thought Rice and Souček surprisingly got quite dominated in midfield by Tielemans and Ndidi. Madison as well was obviously on there. Lanzini was maybe the opposite counterpart there. But yeah, I was surprised. I thought Rice and Souček, it was kind of just like an okay game from them. Like they didn't do anything wrong, but at the same time, they didn't really take control of the game. But maybe that is because of a lack of runners ahead of them, like you're saying. And a lack of movement because it was a bit static up there. Bowen took his goal so well. He looks like a Liverpool forward. I know I keep doing this to you every time one of your players do well. I just like
you lot think it's pick and mix at West Ham. Well, someone comes through and we'll take what we fancy. But
is
to
it
be
not?
fair,
is it not?
It's going to be an expensive pick and mix pack. That's for sure. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But it's still
Toby, I know the situation.
Still pick and mix. We still gonna eat, brother.
And people are going to come in. That's fine. But do you know what? On the Bowen point, I didn't think he was going to miss. The minute he made that run, I was like, he's not missing this. There's no way. And look at that position he's picked up. Antonio's not even in the picture. He's come central. He's made the run. So he's got those kind of movements that mean, if you're talking about Liverpool, and I don't even want to get into the conversation, but inside forward movements, he has that ability. But he's always had that since Hull. So it's not surprising. But on the Rice and Souček point, I thought Rice wasn't helped by Souček. Souček looks knackered, absolutely shattered. And the problem is where we played is both of them played a lot higher. They didn't want to, Leicester normally don't play through you. They'll try and keep the ball until they find a gap. But the minute they played in behind and Souček can't get back, Rice is at odds because he can't go and press because his defense behind him are going to be isolated. And so he's just trying to keep the distance long enough for players to get back. So that's why Souček goes under the radar in terms of a dip in performance. But the geezer's been knackered since the Euros. I swear. If we had the option, I'd go have 2 months off and come back and be the same player that you were when you joined. But he's an example of you've played way too much football. He's got limitations as a player. I'm not saying he's perfect. Of course he isn't. But the athleticism that he has, the ground that he covers, the energy, he doesn't have that at the minute. So you're hurting Declan as well. So now there's a conversation. Do you play Rice and Lanzini? It's not a natural double pivot at all, but just a player that can keep the ball a little bit better. So we're kind of getting to that stage where people are saying Bowen for false nine, Lanzini in the pivot. It kind of, because those players like Antonio and Souček, they've dipped too much, and there's no natural solution for them.
I mean, Toby, what do you make of West Ham at the moment if you got to see it? Because obviously they're in the same rat race as you, but maybe, I don't know. I know you don't rate your squad very highly, actually, so it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on the comparison between the two teams and who do you think will maybe go the distance?
I think we'll finish higher than West Ham, but not because we play better football. I think West Ham as a unit are more complete than Spurs. Man for man, we probably have a stronger squad, but relative to how we play, relative to how Conte wants us to play, versus relative to how David Moyes has West Ham playing, they are more complete. They know each other. They've been playing in a set way, and they've been able to evolve from that specific way over a 2-year period. They have players fundamentally who aren't idiots. They may not have the star quality, but fundamentally at base level, they have players who have basic understanding of football and basic footballing principles. Don't make silly mistakes. Be defensively astute. Pass the ball forward when you need to pass the ball forward. So whilst they're lacking in star talent, as a side, as a team, they're way more complete than Spurs. And if they didn't have the European competition, I would probably be saying like it's a lottery as to whether Spurs will finish above West Ham, because they finished above us last season.
Yeah, true.
It's not always about what who has the better squad on paper. Because if it was based on that, then Spurs would have finished ahead of West Ham last season, but we didn't. So for me, I look at West Ham and it's annoying. They're just a well-drilled side. They are, and I agree they didn't play well against Leicester, but they didn't lose. They didn't play well against Leicester, and they didn't lose. Yes, we've got all these games in hand and stuff like that. Cool, but we need to win them first. Granted, they've probably lost a little bit of momentum in recent weeks when you look at their results. But really and truly, nobody was expecting West Ham to go the distance for top 4 this season. Everyone said, well, most people said they got European commitments.
Yeah,
their squad isn't the biggest. They didn't strengthen to the extent they needed to in the summer. They didn't strengthen to the extent they needed to in January. So ultimately, that's what's going to let them down this season. But I still think that they'll be in and around right up until the end. But I expect them to fall away once the European commitments kick in, man. Because I was even looking at the schedule now. I was thinking, oh wow, Europe is back this week, so West Ham must be playing Thursday. Why is Corey saying Saturday? And I checked it. Yeah, they obviously, because of the format changes, it's the playoffs now, the Europa League playoffs now, and then it will be the
round of 16, is it?
The round of 16 in March. So now I'm thinking, oh shit, mad. So they have between now and March to try and pick up as much points as they can, and give themselves a little bit of a buffer in this race, because from March onwards, their squad will be stretched. There's no two ways about it. Their squad will be stretched.
Yeah, it's up to Moyes. It's up to Moyes what he wants to do, because I think this is the biting point. Don't get me wrong, we've done unbelievably well to compete in the competitions and be consistent in the league, but it is tough. These players are feeling it, and so it's Moyes will do what I fully expect him to do and just go as strong as he can in each of the competitions until there's nothing left of these players. But Tobi is right. There's a gap now where we've got almost a week break in between games that we need to be bang on for. And don't get too sucked into the table, because we've spoken about games in hand and United could come back into form, albeit it's highly unlikely. So we've just got to do our own thing. But there's no doubt if this West Ham team was fully fit and we had a couple of additions, people would be going, I fancy him for it to nick it, because of that consistency that we've had and we've carried from last season. And Moyes has been able to embed it. And the one thing about this West Ham team is they don't give in. Like, we've been poor in games, really poor, and they found a way to get a result. So we're not out of it, but it'll be very, very tough. But for me, I feel like we need to get European football. Like, even if it is 7th, I genuinely believe that. I think that's so important, because we don't snub the Conference League in the same way that others will. And I get why, because you've been in different competitions. But for the way West Ham are going in terms of trajectory, you look at next season, European football we need big time, because we've still got to maintain that attraction and still get players through the door.
It's Corey makes a great point not to get sucked in by the table, because honestly, the top 4 race, even as shitty as I'm feeling about Spurs now, 2 wins out of 2, that's all it takes. 2 straight wins, and then one team drops a point here, draws there, and all of a sudden, oh, you're in pole position. That's the way this race. That's the way this race is going to be. But ultimately, points on the board will always mean more than games in hand. I'm looking at the table now. It's West Ham on 41 points with 25 games played. Arsenal 2 points behind with 3 games less. So
mad.
But the 3 games in hand are against you,
Chelsea,
us, and Liverpool. So
that's mad, isn't
it? So you look at that and you're like, oh wow, Arsenal surely have to make up ground on West Ham. So you expect West Ham have played the most games of anyone alongside United, and you expect that they should drop. But in order for them to drop, these teams have to pick up points. Okay, granted, Arsenal aren't playing Spurs now, Chelsea now, whatever. So they could gain ground. They got a favorable run coming up, but they're gonna have to play those games in hand eventually. And what happens if they don't win those games in hand and West Ham win in that period of time? Then West Ham all of a sudden climb.
Yeah,
it's the top 4 race is interesting. It's interesting. Admittedly, West Ham are a better side than I gave them credit for at the start of the season. Not because they have star-studded players, but they're just competent. They have players who can do a job, and they're fairly dependable, man. They're fairly dependable, which is more than I can say for players at our club who are good on paper but not dependable.
Yeah, and I was looking at their fixtures for before that March period that you talk about. So obviously for February, the next 2 fixtures for West Ham in February are Newcastle at home and Wolves at home. Tricky enough games.
Will be big.
Yeah,
big.
And even Newcastle, but Trippier's out injured now.
Going to be big as well.
Yeah, Trippier's out injured.
I'm not overlooking Newcastle at all.
Yeah,
they are going to come there on the back of 3 wins, and the pressure's on West Ham to dominate the ball. They can play counter-attacking football. Newcastle, they defended well against Villa. As a fan, I'm like, don't get dragged into that, because that's the conversation where they could nick a 1-0. I think we'll do it. I think we'll be all right. And I'm looking at Wolves as well, thinking, mate, they beat us when we were up at Molineux, and they played really, really well. So we got to be on it, man. Genuinely, if we take the chance, we put distance between us and Wolves as well. So that's what we've also got to be thinking. That's a real opportunity.
Yeah,
Wolves are stubborn. They're a stubborn side.
We're going to talk about Wolves in a minute, because obviously they played Tottenham. Wolves have got 4 wins out of their last 5, and Newcastle are unbeaten in their last 5 with 3 wins out of the relegation
no Trippier though.
That's no Trippier. That's a big miss to not have Trippier in the squad. Because he's been scoring free kicks and he's the captain as well. He's been a brilliant signing for them. I have to ask, Tobi, do you ever look back on Trippier and think to yourself, I know he wasn't as good as Kyle Walker at Tottenham, but do you ever think to yourself that maybe bringing him back instead of him going to Newcastle would have been better than what you've got right now, or no?
No. I don't look back. I don't look back for players like Trippier. He was a shocking player for the most part at Spurs. When he was actually starting games, I don't look back on that with regret. There's a reason why he's shining high at Newcastle, because no disrespect to Newcastle, but he is, just because he's not good enough for Spurs doesn't mean that he's not good enough for Newcastle. Like he waltzes into that Newcastle team. They got flipping Manquillo. But then again, I can say the same thing for Spurs in comparison to Emerson and in comparison to Chicken Royale and Matt Doherty. Then Trippier is better. But I look at it as what Trippier was doing when he was at Spurs, and it was terrible. Okay, the mistake that Spurs have made is not bringing Kieran Trippier back. The mistake that Spurs has made is somehow finding players worse than Kieran Trippier.
Fair enough. Because obviously he did go out to Atletico Madrid and win the league, so he might have improved since then, etc. But I still, I do. It's like a Adama Traore. I think you should be aiming better than that, but they obviously are better than your options, because your options are shit. But on to Wolves, because they are actually in 7th, ahead of Tottenham at the moment, but obviously played a game more after beating them on the weekend. I mean, Tobi, I don't want to talk about Wolves too much, like in terms of your match, but Wolves, from your point of view, just as you saw them up close, because we struggled against them. City, Liverpool struggled against them. Is there a sneaky, I'm not even saying Wolves for top 4, but Wolves in Europe, do you think that could be a possibility? Because all season they've been pretty consistent. They're very, you know what you're getting with Wolves at this point, isn't it? At this point of the season,
top 4 is a myth.
No,
complete myth. But I see no reason why they can't make a strong push for a European spot. So what is it? 5th, 6th is Europa, and 7th is Conference League. I see no reason why they can't attack 6th or 7th spot. As far as 4th and 5th is concerned, I don't think they have enough goals to land in those spots. They're a great side defensively. Like they've got the 3rd best defensive record in the league. Something mad like that. You saw them at Man City away. It took a penalty with 10 men for them to lose the game. They come to our ground, they win. They held you to well, it's not hard to
we had no players that game, I swear. We had no players.
It wasn't hard to stop your attack on the day. But granted, Chelsea have scored a lot of goals this season, but they've held you to a goalless game. Even Arsenal, it took a jammy ass goal for them to win that game. But the point is, they have something about them. Like they play a positive brand of football, and what what is really impressive about them is at the start of the season, they were playing really good football. They really were, but they were losing games because they just weren't defensively secure. Now he's found a balance where he's given them that sort of defensive security that that they had on the Nuno. But when they actually have the ball, they can actually pop it around. They can pop it, they can play. I think what's going to hurt them is the attack, man. I don't think Jimenez is the same player he was. Fabio Silva, he's like a kid. He literally is a kid, and he's so out of his depth in the Premier League. He's always, I feel sorry for him when I watch him play for them because he's always like a man, a boy against men. Hwang is back from injury now, so maybe he can chip him with some goals. If they can get Neto back into a good spot before the end of the season, who knows? But yeah, Europe definitely, they've done it before. Why can't they do it again? They've done it twice in the Nuno, so they can definitely get European football this year, 100%.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with them. In fact, they have the second best defensive record in the league with 17 goals conceded. Only Man City have conceded less with 14. That's ridiculous, to be honest. Nice. And they deserve a lot of credit for that. Their recruitment has gone very under the radar. We speak about Leicester's recruitment as well, and other teams like, but we don't speak about Wolves enough. I think they've been brilliant. But I won't talk about the actual game because I know you've spoken about on Big Six and you've probably spoken about it like 5 or 6 times at this point. It's fine. I don't want to put you through that trauma. You was a mime on Big Six. I ain't not putting you through that again. But you do have Man City coming up. Obviously, no Europe. Are you still in the FA Cup or no?
Still in the FA Cup.
So it's two things. Yeah, it's quite straightforward for you guys. Two competitions to play for the rest of the season. Man City. I mean, I know you're not confident, so I don't even have to ask that. But what would you do if you was? What do you want to see from Conte and the team? I'm going to say Conte because the team's shit. What do you want to see from Conte getting the best out of this bunch of clowns, as you would say? I'm going to call them that too because I'm not going to lie. Some of your players are a lot more shit than I expected them.
They're clowns. And you see what I was saying on the Big Six as well, because the right side, it's like playing with 10 men, man. Fucking hell. Because the thing is, people say, I hate when people compare Conte to Nuno. But you spoke this way about Nuno. Why don't you speak this way about? You spoke this way about Nuno. Why don't you speak this way about Conte? You spoke this way about Jose. Why don't you speak this way about Conte? First and foremost, everyone can see the work that Conte is. It's not the work that Conte did 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They're seeing the work he's doing right now. As in, we literally saw it at Inter Milan last season. We saw it at Inter Milan last season. Yeah. With Jose Mourinho, I will admit there were, and I said this on the Big Six, it was wrong of me to expect him to finish top 4 with the squad we had last year, because the turning point was like maybe after that run where we played you and played Chelsea and then got slapped up by Man City in the league in February. I said, yeah, safe. Like, this ain't it anymore. The squad, like Jose Mourinho, he's got a lot to answer for, but you cannot blame him for some of this shit that you're seeing on this football pitch. The mistakes that you're seeing, you can't blame him. And it was the same for Nuno. But the only reason why we wanted these guys gone is because with Jose, we only had one set way of playing, and and he didn't have a way of changing it when things were going wrong. And then with Nuno, fundamentally, Spurs, we couldn't even play, period. You can't. Man City is the only good performance you can say you saw Spurs have under Nuno Espirito Santo. The other games, nothing. We scored 9 Premier League goals in like 10 games under Nuno. People aren't deep in that. It's one thing to criticize Antonio Conte.
He was shocking. I'm not gonna lie.
I miss those days. They were great.
Corey, thank you. You remember it? Like, people are like,
it was beautiful. Honestly, I'll tell you. You couldn't score for nothing.
It was horrendous. I'm not gonna lie. It was horrendous.
Literally, once a team went ahead, that was it. You remember the West Ham game, Corey? We didn't even play badly that game, but we just had nothing. As soon as West Ham scored, Corey said, "Yep, safe. We've won this game."
Put my feet up on the chair. We're done here, lads. See you later.
And that's the feeling that we had with Nuno. We had a feeling that we weren't even competing for games. At least with Jose Mourinho, he wasn't good enough. But he wasn't good enough because he put us in positions where we weren't able to play the way he wanted us to play. With Nuno, we can even play all together. So when I'm hearing Spurs fans say, what has Conte done in comparison to these guys? You can clearly see that the team has played better. Players like Ben Davies, who couldn't even get a sniff under Nuno Espirito Santo, has come into this team and has been one of our better defenders in recent weeks, playing in a back three. Yeah? Getting a point against Liverpool, it may not mean much, but when you look at the performance, when you look at the frequency of chances that we created, we probably created more chances in that Liverpool game than we did in 10 games under Nuno.
Yeah.
Deep that. And when you look at all the metrics to check whether a team's improving, you look at possession kept, more possession. You look at goals scored, more than double the amount of goals scored. When you look at chances created, more than double the chances created. Antonio Conte is working the best he can with these group of players. So when I'm hearing, oh yeah, like Conte needs to fix it. Of course, the manager needs to take some responsibility for things that are in his control, and we'll speak about the things that are in his control. But Lloris gifting the ball to Wolves twice is not in his control. Davinson Sanchez passing the ball to Kundal is not in his control. Ben Davies clearing the ball out to Dendoncker is not in his control. These things are not tactical adjustments. They're just bozos doing bozo things. Literally bozos doing bozo things. And I'm including Lloris in this because I love Lloris, but he's definitely got the bozo gene. You know, anyone here, but all of us here know that no matter how well Lloris is playing, he's good for at least 1 or 2 clangers a year that will cost Spurs.
Yeah.
So back to your point, so because that was like a Conte defense speech. Back to your point, I'm saying all that, and yet I'm going to say this. Antonio Conte, he got it wrong against Southampton. He should have gone to a 3-man midfield, especially when he saw how we were getting dominated in the first half, but it was still 1-1. At that point, you've got to change at halftime. He didn't change it quick enough, and all he did, despite Winks and Højbjerg both playing poorly, they needed help in the midfield. And what he did was, instead of adding another midfielder, he basically switched Højbjerg for Bentancur and still left us outnumbered in the midfield. Ultimately, we go on to lose the game 2-1, and the midfield is a big issue. Ralph Hasenhüttl spoke about it, how easy, and Southampton fans saw how easy it was for them to dominate the midfield area because we just couldn't really commit many bodies there. They would just outnumber us. And then Wolves, Bruno Lage, he spoke about the same thing. He knew Spurs were going to play a 2, so he simply just put enough players there to outnumber us.
And just literally just play around them.
Yeah,
but this is why on the Big Six I mentioned in-game management. It doesn't need to be a little bit better because
100%.
And you got to make that change, isn't it? At half time or something.
100%. And these are things that are in Antonio Conte's control. Like the quality of player isn't. Winks is still poor. Højbjerg has been dog shit this season. Skip is injured, and Bentancur is a new signing. So.
It's not enough depth, though, is it? You let Ndombele go, and you should have brought in another midfielder. Four midfielders is that for
blame the hierarchy.
2 or 3 positions. It's crazy.
Blame the hierarchy. This is what we're talking about. They don't think. They don't think. But anyway, Antonio Conte, he gets a big fat L, and I think he has to take. He 100% has to take blame for us losing these 2 fixtures. He does, because his team selection could have been better, even against Wolves as well. If you're switching to a back 4, if you're switching to a back 4, there's no reason why Reguilon is not on the pitch. There's no reason why you're playing Ben Davies left back when you know that Reguilon is better going forward and you're 2 goals down and you need a goal. So these are things that he can change. These are things in his control. And going forward, we want to see him play a 3-man midfield. And he even said it after the game with Davinson Sanchez. Maybe it's a mistake that he's not playing Joe Rodon. Maybe it's a mistake that he's playing other players. At least he's acknowledged that.
Yeah.
But I just want people to be fair and speak about the things that are in his control. Because when I'm hearing stuff like, oh, it's his fault that Matt Doherty isn't good. Oh, it's his fault that Emerson, this, that, and the other. It's his fault.
And to be fair, he didn't sign these players. We have to hold that. He didn't sign these players as well. They came in under Nuno before he arrived. And this is why hiring Nuno and then still going with Conte after you could have got Conte in the summer is pure idiocy.
Lunacy.
You bring in the players for Nuno and you sack him, and then Conte has to work with them. What was the point? What was the actual point? Just to pay him the same wage he was gonna have to pay him anyway.
Bro, it's
foolishness of the highest order.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But bottom line, yes, this week has been a low point for Antonio Conte. But all of these reactionary takes where it's like, oh, what's Conte improved at Spurs? Oh, why isn't Conte getting the best out of this player, that player? It's nonsense. It's nonsense because some of these players that people are expecting him to work miracles with, they've seen these players under 4 different managers and it's still not worked. When is the penny going to drop that maybe it's just the player? They try to, and you know how much I hate Jose Mourinho. Some of our fans try to put Dele's decline on Jose. I'm thinking, are you skunked? What on earth did Jose do to make Dele Alli the player he is? The only gripe I give Jose was not including him in more matchday squads, not giving him a couple more garbage minutes against some of these teams. But as far as his gameplay and his player development is concerned, Jose Mourinho is not the reason Dele Alli is the player he is today. Dele has been poor for ages. Same way Davinson Sanchez has been a liability for Spurs for years now. Ben Davies has been a liability for years. Emerson, already in 6 months, looks like a piece of shit. Matt Doherty is the worst player I've seen Spurs sign in my life. There's so many bad players at this team. So many bad players.
Yeah.
Have you got a head of recruitment, like an actual?
They do. That's the thing.
See, but this is the problem, though.
Like, you've got DOF, and we had Steve Hitchen, who was like I can't remember his technical something. I can't remember. Yeah,
it's so disjointed. Like for me, it feels very much like they've brought Conte in as the magic man, and it can only work with what he can work with. And you lose against Wolves, but if you strip it back and you just watch the highlights, it's just mistakes. Even if you aren't able to win the game and you still draw, it's still positive to a degree. It's not perfect, but it's better. But I know as well as anyone that players have a ceiling, and some of these Tottenham players have been there about 3-4 years, way too long. And Levy to me seems like the guy that goes, no, you can get something out of him. No, you can get something. It doesn't work like that. Football doesn't work like that. And Tottenham aren't at the level they need to. They need a clear out in the summer. And I'd be worried. I don't think Conte quite understood the type of job he was going into. And I personally feel like he's struggling a little bit with the sort of idea that he has to go somewhere and adapt even formations and in-game management to tweak against the players that he's got, because he's not used to it. He's used to having everything his own way. This is a different type of challenge. So,
but you know what, Corey, though? I don't even think he's used to having everything his own way. I think he's used to having he's just used to having players who, at the very least, can follow basic instruction and aren't invalids.
Yeah.
Like at Chelsea, when he first came in, nobody tipped Chelsea to win the league that year. Nobody.
Nope.
Pep Guardiola just came to the league and spent all this money on Sane, all of these players. Everyone thought, okay, you know what? Man City, maybe they can just go straight to the top. Yeah. That's what people thought. And then us from Leicester, they won it. Yeah. Everyone expected a dip or whatever. Us, we finished second. Arsenal there as well. Yeah. Like, nobody expected Chelsea to just waltz to the title the way they did, but he did that. And he did that with players who had finished 10th the season before, because he's that good a coach.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But there was there's baseline of quality in that team. Matic, exactly. Even though they finished 10th, there wasn't scrubs, like loads of scrubs everywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? Exactly
my point. There was still, don't get it twisted, the Chelsea team needed a pick me up, 100%. Yeah. It needed rejuvenation. But at the very least, it didn't have like lower level cannon fodder players there. Yeah. At Spurs, I swear to God, there are lower level cannon fodder players there. You can't look at our team and tell me a manager is gonna transform 30-year-old Matt Doherty into a world beater right now. He's made the step up and he's drowning. He's literally drowning.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
Yes, I have to say, I can't believe how poor both the right-sided players have been. Like they can't attack, they can't defend.
Emerson Royale is
actually
horrific.
You know, it's not even like one of them is like defensively solid and they can't go forward, so you have to have a lopsided team, or that they're really good going forward, they can't defend, so you have to have a lopsided team. Mate, they can't do either.
They can't do anything. They can't do anything. And then when we have injuries, because we do have injuries, Dyer's been injured. Imagine we're relying on Eric Dyer.
Yeah,
Eric Dyer.
He had a good start to the season. He had a decent start to the season.
No, he's had a decent season, Matisse. But that's the point I'm making.
Relying on him.
Relying on Eric Dyer, bro, and Romero and Ben Davies to put to piece.
I feel sorry for Romero. I can't lie, because Romero looks like he looks like a player, but he's surrounded by absolute dog shit. Ben Davies, Sanchez. I never thought it could get worse than Serge Aurier, because Serge Aurier defensively was awful, but at least he could go forward.
Matisse, Serge Aurier's defensive lapses were awful, so his mistakes were horrible and high profile. But at the base level, Serge Aurier could actually defend. He's way better than Matt Doherty. Way better. He showed that last season. Where I thought Matt Doherty was going to be an upgrade on him, he showed last season that he's better than Matt Doherty. And it's not even a competition between him and Emerson. The only thing that separates him and Emerson defensively is that Emerson just doesn't have like the glaring like penalty giveaways and stuff like that. But he is just as much of a liability, if not worse. In fact,
I truly wish the 1v1 demon could come up against Emerson Royale every week.
He did come up against him. Do you not remember the home game?
I remember exactly what happened.
He was shuffling. He did come up against him. This is what I'm saying. Only us can we let a 1v1 demon who doesn't even take on anyone rinse you. Tanganga and Emerson. And you know what? Sorry, I've been banging on about Spurs for ages. You know what the scariest thing about Doherty is, yeah? That's why Hugh's comment on Monday, it triggered me. Why can't Conte do this? Matt Doherty, Nuno was your former manager. Nuno got the best out of him. So Nuno was at the club and he still couldn't get him playing.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a good point. I actually did it. Yeah, that's a good point.
And he still couldn't get him playing.
Yeah. Because I remember when Nuno came in, I remember thinking, oh, maybe he'll be able to get the best out of Doherty now. He worked with him. This might be Doherty's time. It didn't go that way.
Doherty's time. I've heard it all now.
Doherty's time, innit? Doherty's time to shine. The only thing I wanted to add into this is that obviously Mourinho, despite his decline, he's left Manchester United after winning 2 trophies. They've never seen trophies again. He took Tottenham to a cup final. He never got to manage it. They haven't gone on to improve really, statistically in terms of the league position right now since then. Is Mourinho almost, obviously he's declining, but is he almost an indicator for worse things to come? Like you may think I'm not doing the greatest job, but don't think that this is going to get any better because you man are fucked kind of thing. Because that's how I'm starting to look at it with Mourinho.
I think I look at it the opposite. I think when you bring in Jose Mourinho, in fact, it's not the opposite. I look at it as when you bring in Mourinho, that's when you know you're basically down in the dumps. You bring in Mourinho when you know you're in shit, but you think a big name is just going to come in and just gloss over all the dross. That's what I see when I see Mourinho into a team. I'm seeing that you're not really doing much due diligence. When it comes to a rebuild as well, you're not doing your due diligence. Mourinho needs to be at ready-made teams. He needs ready-made players. When a club that's in turmoil goes out and gets Jose Mourinho as for a rebuild, I believe that you don't know what you're doing. You don't. That's the way I look at it. And the squad has been on its way down for quite a long time. It has. And instead of addressing it, we just get stopgaps. Oh, you want Ruben Diaz? We'll get you Joe Rodon. Oh, you want a striker? We'll get you nobody, and you use an academy, a teenager whose balls ain't even dropped. Use him as the backup for Harry Kane. Yeah, you need a Luis Diaz. Nah, fuck it. We'll get you Kulusevski on the right-hand side, and you stay with Bergwijn, who hasn't contributed anything over the last year and a half. Yeah? Oh, you need a central midfielder? Nah, fuck it. Stick with Winks, who's been inconsistent for the past 2-3 years. Yeah, it's fine.
So many average players in your squad, man. Fuck. Jesus Christ. It's actually so peak.
I'm glad that you're.
You know what? Yeah, just
go through it man for man.
I need to.
You
I need to go through it.
I thought about this the other day.
Actually laugh.
I need to go through it man for man. It's actually fucking.
Corey,
it's actually
how many times have I said? How many times have we like spoke about Creswell? And I say I don't really rate Creswell, but he does a decent job for Creswell. Yeah, I don't even rate Creswell, and he makes like Sessegnon makes Creswell look like he makes Creswell look like Chilwell. That's how poor Sessegnon is right now.
But that's the thing, though, like, because everyone looks at Spurs and they think of them a couple of years ago. But when you actually deep the players and you actually start to look at it, you realise how far they've fallen off. In my head, I still think Dembele's there. But like you turn around and you got like Winks and Højbjerg, arguably, is probably your better centre midfielder. And I don't even think he's anywhere near the level you've
exactly. And he's been horrible this season.
I didn't realize Gil went to Barcelona on loan as well. That's
no, he went to Valencia on loan.
Oh, Valencia. Okay, right.
but like the point I'm making is like I've basically given up like moaning at the starting lineup now because our squad is so bad that there is no lineup that I'm ever going to be like, oh my God, yes, this is it.
But you spent 50 million on Emerson and Gill, and both of them, one's out on loan and the other one's shit. So what's going on? Like, what with the recruitment? Why are you building for the future when the now is not even taken care of? Why didn't you spend that 50 million on a fucking midfielder? Like,
ask Paratici.
I'm so confused by the way you man operate because you spent 80 million. I know you took some money in. You didn't absolutely, break the transfer market. But if you're going to buy players that will affect your team now. Why are we buying Gill and then half a season he doesn't play much, goes back out on loan? Emerson's shit. I don't know what happened there. I'm going to go through the average players to wrap up, yeah? Davies, Skip.
Davies is an average. Davies is shit.
Okay, average is
competent.
Shit.
He's competent in the back. He's competent in the back. You know what? He's competent in the back three, but he's a shocking left back. Yep. Go on next.
Davies, Skip, Lucas Moura.
Skip is mid, but Skip has actually been good this season, and he's
average, isn't he? Really?
He is, but he's got potential. He won't get into any other top six side. Maybe Arsenal. Maybe. Yeah,
maybe. But that's a weak point. Only because it's a weak point. Yeah,
exactly. But my point is, he wouldn't waltz into other sides, but we're relying on him. And credit to him, he's done well this season. But again, over reliance on a 21-year-old,
still young,
21-year-old prospect instead of a ready-made midfielder.
Yeah,
go on,
I cut him some slack. He's young. Lucas, Tanganga, Bergwijn.
Lucas, poor. Tanganga, he's garbage right now. He needs a loan. Bergwijn is poor as well. There's a lot of players that need to be sold, but that Conte wants to keep for now. But I feel like come summer, he will probably wield the axe a little bit more if we give him the tools to.
Sessegnon, what's happened to him?
He's shit.
How much did you spend for him?
What, Sessegnon? 30 million. So 25 million plus Josh Onoma. He's fucking shit.
See, this is the thing. This is the do the list and I'll talk. Do the list and I'll talk. This is mad. Like, there's a common misconception that Tottenham don't spend money. It's rubbish, mate. They spend more than enough.
We do. We spent a lot of money. We've been the top 7 spenders the last 2.5 to 3 years. We've just spent money on crap players.
Eric Dyer, Emerson Royale.
Eric Dyer, poor, but he's been decent. You know what? He's an average centre back. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm doing shit to average. Yeah.
Shit to average, fair. Yeah. Chicken Royale, shit. Yep. Next.
Harry Winks.
Shit.
Sanchez.
Yep. Shit.
Doherty.
Oh my God. The worst player I've ever seen in a Spurs shirt.
So I've named most of your squad.
See?
Because the only good ones that I actually rate are Lloris, Reguilon.
Yeah. Reguilon's is not even like bona fide good. Like, he's got potential, but he's been poor for Spurs for the most part.
Yeah, but I'm gonna put him just above average, like, and then Højbjerg, Son, Kane.
Højbjerg is average, but he's been fucking cheeks this season. So I'll put Højbjerg as poor right now.
Really, in form, but I still give him some ratings for what he did last season, and that's it. That's what I've got. Kane, and that's it. Stops there.
That is,
Kane and Son. I'm not doing anymore. I don't know Rondon. Kulusevski is a good player, but
Kulusevski, you're taking a fucking piss. A man just called him Konechesky.
But like, we're sitting here going, if you compare West Ham and Spurs team, we'd pick this player. And I'm thinking, listen to that list going. I'd struggle to pick a couple of them, to be honest.
I'm deep in it now. So for West Ham,
your midfield's way better.
Obviously, obviously Harry Kane and Son will make it.
Goes without saying.
Lloris will make it. I think Romero will make it.
Yeah. Next to Zuma.
But then right back,
no.
Kufal is better than anything we've got.
So
left back, I'm taking Reguilon over Creswell. But midfield, and I used to argue this, but now that Ndom's not here, Declan Rice walks into our midfield.
Captains your team.
I'm even low-key annoyed, embarrassed that I made the comparison between him and Højbjerg, because he showed towards the second half of last season and this season that it's actually clear as day that he's on
I've had to fight this fight for a long time, Toby. It's all right. Your apologies. There's no need. It goes
on another level.
Wide.
He's on another level. And then so
Jared Bowen.
Jared Bowen starts.
Walks.
Clear of anything Tottenham on the right.
Bowen starts right now, but I'm saying wait on Kulusevski because I got big stocks in Kulusevski. But right now Bowen starts. Yeah. So pick your poison.
Do you know how mad it is? The mad is where Tottenham have been for probably a decade compared to where West Ham have been. And that we're sitting here saying that comparatively it's more 50-50 than you think. And even in some cases you'd argue that it'd be West Ham players in there. So that's kind of mad to think where Tottenham have gone. But that's just recruit. Comes down to recruit. They've had poor recruitment. We've had very good recruitment. And that's been we've got a great manager, but that's the difference. Do you see what I mean? If you go manager for manager,
they've got a way better manager.
Conte's elite.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
He's in a bracket. He's in a bracket with the next below. But the team wise, how we've made that gap is crazy, and it's becoming more and more frequent. Like if you sat down and you looked at Wolves' team at points, certain players would be getting into certain Arsenal teams or Spurs. Do you see what I mean? So they're kind of conversations.
Neves walks into our team. Moutinho starts in our team. Neto walks into our team.
Do you know what I really rate? Max Kilman. Kilman's a player as well.
He's a tank. I've always liked him. Since Nuno introduced him last season, I've always liked him. He's a player. And he could get games at Spurs. If Ben Davies is playing on the back three, of course he can get games. Do you get what I'm saying? He can start. Of course he can start. So I actually had this argument with Babs from Touchline Matisse about Trevor Chalobah, and I said the positions he plays for Chelsea, he wouldn't start ahead of in a back two. I don't think he's better than Romero, and you'll laugh at me, but I don't think he's a better centre back than Eric Dyer.
Hold on the second, Lord. Have mercy on your soul for saying that on a Chelsea channel. What has even come of you to even? That is a Saeed take.
I don't think it is the Saeed take because we've only ever seen
big trouble now.
Probably are, but I've only ever seen Trevor in a back three for Chelsea, bro. I've not seen him in a back two outside of your Chelsea bubble. Do you get what I'm saying? I think if you're asking me in a back three, does Trevor start for Spurs? On the left hand side is where I've seen him play. Or in fact, I've not seen him play left side. Sorry, the left hand side is where I can only see him playing for Spurs. I've not seen Trevor play it as the interior centre back, the one that sort of leads the defense. And then on the right hand side, he's nowhere near as good as Romero. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. I'm not putting him with Romero, but he's
much
better than you. That has to be trolling that he's not better than Eric Dyer.
I don't think it is trolling. I don't think. Listen. I don't like Eric Dyer, but admittedly, I don't think he's as bad as
you told us how shit he was.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's. Listen, Eric Dyer is not good, but I don't think he is literally the worst centre back ever. I don't think he is, but he's not good. That one I know for sure. He's not good.
Okay.
I think you know what it is with Trev. I think he's average. I think he's all right.
Trev hasn't played in a while anyway because he's been injured, but I think Trevor's definitely better than average. He's very young. He's definitely very promising. This is his first season in the Premier League, so we have to remember that as well. It's his first season in the Premier League. But I want to talk about a little bit of Champions League before we wrap up. Final 5-10 minutes. Mbappe. I don't know if you guys got to see him last night. The goal, because I was watching the game. Right, the game. Did you guys get to watch PSG Real Madrid first of all?
Yep, of course.
Yeah. You didn't get to see it, Corey.
I saw the goal though.
You gave it a miss.
Unbelievable.
No,
mate. Oh, yeah, I did.
You know what? Fair play because you didn't dive into the hype because the game PSG completely dominated Real Madrid. I don't know if it's this away goals rule that has fucked over the Champions League. We're going to see as the whole season progresses if it's made a massive difference. But Real Madrid is an away team. I have never seen them so defensive and like just willing to just give away possession at willy-nilly. It's despite having Modric and Toni Kroos. They don't want to dominate. They didn't have a shot on target until like I don't even know when, the 80th minute.
You have to understand the evolution of Real Madrid right now, though. Like the midfield three they have, even though it's great technically, right now with the ages that they're at, Modric is what, like 36, 37. Toni Kroos is what, like 32, going 33. Casemiro is over 30 as well. They don't have the legs to put in that sort of midfield dominating performance against a side like PSG. PSG had way too much energy and quality for them. Like it was always going to be PSG that would set the tone. And Joe Cole and Michael Owen actually had some really good analysis before the game on how Ancelotti's made Real Madrid a more direct team. So they don't want to be more methodical with the ball. They want to soak up pressure and they want to hit you on the break. And that's reminiscent to what we saw from Ancelotti at Everton. At Everton, he set them up to be a bit more direct. He didn't want them to control games. He wanted them to soak up pressure and hit teams on a counter. But the problem is they were playing with a half-fit Benzema, half-cooked Benzema, so he was never going to be 100%. And you're up against Verratti, pass master. You're up against Mbappe, who's always going to carry the game for his team. You're up against Messi, who keeps the ball as well. You're up against Di Maria. And then of course in the midfield as well, you had Danilo for legs, and then you had Paredes, who I don't think he played that well, but who keep things ticking. Real Madrid's midfield without Valverde and what's his name? The French don that they signed, Camavinga.
Yeah.
Real Madrid's midfield without Camavinga and Valverde, it's not sustained to control games against the better sides.
But I think they'll add Pogba to that maybe on a free, isn't it? And that will give them a little bit of balance in terms of someone in their prime.
Look at how you played against them last season.
Yeah, true.
Look at how you played against them last season. You
dominate that midfield.
When they're up against midfielders who've actually got energy as well as the quality. It's peak. It's a wrap for them, and that's what Verratti had yesterday. That's what Kovacic had last season. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah. So they were played off the park completely. Messi was really poor. It was Mbappe or bust really up there, because Di Maria missed an absolute sitter. Mbappe scored a great goal 90th minute. He fully deserved. Put it on a plate for Di Maria in the first half. Messi, I don't know what's happened to him, but he just the shadow of his former self right now.
It's sad, man.
It's sad to see. Honestly, it's rough to watch. It really is. I mean, what did you make of him in that game, Tobi? Because he just no real influence, not really, not even creating opportunities, not even that he's missing. Even the shot that he took, it was straight at Courtois as well on his left, just outside the box. Like just no cutting edge to his game, just a bystander almost sometimes, just dropping deep, picking up the ball, playing it, doing nice things. He looks good, but nothing definitive from him.
I think with Messi, I saw him try to do a couple things that he used to do a couple years back. So like Messi, he would basically try and suck like maybe two players in, and he had the feet and the burst to just get past them. He tried to do that a couple times, but Real Madrid were quite close to him. He didn't have that spring to sort of get past players anymore or walk through sides. He still got the technical quality, but a lot of the things that he was trying to pull off, it just wasn't coming off. And Messi of maybe 2-3 years ago, that will come off. But I think I've not really accepted it, because I just thought, you know what, he's come to a new league. French league is probably a bit more intense than La Liga. La Liga is quite slow, methodical, technical league. French league, you have a lot more P&P merchants there. But the Champions League game yesterday was like the first time where I was like, oh shit, man. Like Lionel Messi, we may be witnessing a decline finally, and no one can blame him or Ronaldo. It's the same with Ronaldo. You knew how much I was riding for Ronaldo this season, and I don't even know why, because I want United in the mud. But like seeing Ronaldo so stiff and robotic in such a fast-paced league, it's like, it's sad, man. What I will say though is I felt Real Madrid yesterday defensively were excellent, man.
They were.
I felt Casemiro was quality yesterday, man. I know it must not have been easy covering the distance that he had to cover and just making those blocks that he had to make, but he was excellent yesterday. Militao, he tried, bless him, he tried, because Mbappe was cooking the hell out of Carvajal on that side. Jesus Christ.
Carvajal needs to keep it moving, man. Seriously.
Alaba, he did okay. Left back fell on Mendy, he did well. But yeah, man, I think
everything else.
Yeah, the PSG, they deserve to win, man. They deserve to win, but Messi.
Would you make them favourites for the tie now? Because when this draw was made, I said Real Madrid have the know-how. Real Madrid, PSG don't really play as a team sometimes. Those are the accusations at the start of the season, right? PSG are not really playing as a team, but now they look, even their midfield balance is a lot better. PSG, isn't it? Now their midfield is a lot more.
I think their performance yesterday shocked a lot of people because with PSG, the times I've watched them, they're either getting outplayed by the opposition totally, or they'll have moments where like they'll look good and then they'll just completely lose control of the game. Yesterday, at no point did I think that they were out of control. Like not 1 point did I think they were out of control. And I think that's partly down to the way Ancelotti set Madrid up. But I felt they were just in control, man. And with Mbappe on their side, the star quality is too much. Like that was the tie around, but it wasn't a tie that I was expecting PSG to lose, even with their inconsistencies. Like it's not going to be a brush thing, but yeah, man, I think even now going to the Bernabeu, I'll back PSG to go through, man. I think whilst they're topsy-turvy, I think when it comes to this part of the competition, Real Madrid's squad just isn't at the level yet to do the things that they were able to do before. This could all bite me, fine, but
could be, but yeah, but I get
I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't see how they stop Mbappe at the Bernabeu. Neymar will be fit and start in that game as well. You saw
he came on, lovely.
He came on, you look decent. So that's going to be another issue to deal with. But then same time, we could say Benzema's going to be fitter, and better. So listen, never rule out Real Madrid, but for me, I think PSG will go through, man.
Especially to finalize with Real Madrid having to go on the front foot now to get that goal. Mbappe on the break is disgusting. Like it is, it's not no joke. Do you know what I mean? It's mad. And Nuno Mendes on the left back position, that's looking like a great signing from Sporting as well. I think they got a 38 million. Looking like a very good player down that side. And obviously Hakimi, I don't think Hakimi was brilliant, but he's obviously
okay.
He's all right. But listen, we're gonna wrap up. It's been a brilliant show. We've been able to discuss West Ham and Tottenham at length. Obviously, West Ham.
We didn't really discuss Chelsea, though, did we?
No, we didn't. And I have no.
I don't want to hear about that stupid goal flag.
Thank God.
World champions. Did you really want me to come here and wear?
You got it on laptop as well, you little nerd.
No, I don't. This is an old one. This is an old one. I decided to leave the world champions out of this show. You know what I'm saying? Let's just talk about the other teams quickly before we go. Predictions: West Ham versus Newcastle. Corey, what's your prediction for that one?
2-1.
2-1. Oh, close. Okay. Yeah.
Got to be real, mate. I can't lie. I'm not going to sit here.
To be fair, I get you. Newcastle got that new lease of life, isn't it now? Like they're dreaming that they can get into like respectable positions and shit now after
well, look, they got momentum, and I've watched Saint-Maximin retire Zabaleta. And I just wonder whether if he sees Soufal the way he's playing at the minute, he's going to fancy it. So
retire him, you know.
He did, mate. I saw it live, and it was quite sad. But that's why I rate Saint-Maximin, mate.
I saw Montero retire Ivanovic at fucking Swansea as well. It was rough.
Horrible moments when you see that.
Jeff Montero, he was
he was weird,
footnote, but he just momentarily ripped Chelsea and Arsenal for like 1 or 2 games and said, I've done my job now.
Him and Mitchell is fucking ridiculous. And score prediction: Tottenham versus City. Toby, sorry.
3-0. 3-0. They're gonna hammer us.
Fuck. And is there anything Conte can do to stop that? Or I'm not even asking that to even be clever. I don't think that actually is, to be honest.
He can try and go for the free in midfield and make it a bit more difficult for them to control the game. I think he can do that. Maybe he could even go with free midfield and switch to a back 4. But I think if we switch to a back 4, for me personally, I think that leaves our defense even more exposed. So you're basically gaining an extra attacker, but you're losing an extra defender, which I think we'll need against Man City. So
I think 3-5-2 should be the only thing I could possibly see working. Son and Kane up top, and just 3-man midfield, 3 at the back, wing backs, like literally just fucking.
Yeah, for me, it's just one of those games where, like, I think you need to put the Conte thing to bed. Like, Conte or no Conte, Spurs are going to lose to Man City. Like, there is no stopping this team right now. Nobody can no one has beaten this side in
months.
In God knows how many months.
Yeah.
So what makes people think that all of a sudden Spurs are just going to rock up there and do it?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Listen, it's been a great show. Big up to the chat. Obviously watching on Premiere. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully we see Lee again. I don't know what's happened to him, but listen, I hope the I hope the Spain Heat's taking care of that hangover. We'll be back next week, same kind of time. And well, actually maybe next week a bit of a different time, depending on the Chelsea fixture, because of obviously Champions League. But we'll look at that later. Big up your damn selves. Make sure you subscribe to all the channels. Tap in Tobi's is obviously linked in the description. So is West Ham Way as well, and in the title. So wherever you wish, make sure you click and subscribe. Subscribe here. Big up your damn selves. In a bit, people. Peace.